Welcome to the show. My name is Reed Huberman, and I was going to open today's 4th of July special with TikTok fireworks gone amazingly wrong because America.
Watch it, I laugh harder.
Oh no! Really, I thought it might be better to remind you that America truly is a great nation, and I want to do that by virtue of an old scene from the Newsroom.
It's not the greatest country in the world, Professor. That's my answer.
And this got a lot of publicity when it was first released because of the way Jeff Daniels kind of trashes America. But in his monologue, I think there's some interesting things for us to revisit since the woke apocalypse that we have experienced here in America. And I want to show you today why patriots should gladly, cheerfully, and pridefully blow stuff up today because America truly is a great nation. Let's jump into it.
Can you say why America is the greatest country in the world?
Diversity and opportunity.
How many times have you heard that one? Diversity is our strength. Well, diversity of skin color means nothing. Ask Kamala Harris. It hasn't helped our country out very much. And if she does become the future president, we'll all know what DEI hires are really capable of.
Girl, I'm out here in these streets.
But diversity has never been our strength, even in the realm of thought, diversity of thinking. Now, just think about the idea that diversity can actually help us come together. It's actually the reason for much of our polarization in the present. The greatest enemy in a polarized society doesn't become some foreign power, but it actually becomes ourselves, tearing each other apart. Now, I've argued on the show before that diversity isn't our strength, but rather something else. G.K. Chesterton said this: "Some say it is impossible to return to the past, but the truth is that there is now nothing before us but the choice between two paths, which both return to the past. We can return to some sort of Catholic fellowship, or we can return to some sort of pagan slavery. There is no third road. There is no middle way. America is great because of the ideas that it was founded upon. The further we get from those, the closer we get to nothing but ash behind us."
Lewis?
Freedom and freedom. So let's keep it that way.
Well, the New York Jets. No, I'm going to hold you to an answer on that. Why is America
not the greatest country in the world, Professor? That's my answer. You know why people don't like liberals? Because they lose.
I do think he protests too much because, point of fact, we don't hate liberals because they lose too much. They could do with a lot more losing, frankly. The reason most of America hates liberals, or at least half of America hates liberals, is simply because they perpetually fight for the right and the civil rights of people to expose their junk publicly in front of children every single June.
Bro, it doesn't matter. You got kids right here. Literally run over next to you. Well, I didn't notice that.
That's why people hate liberals. If they weren't kept in check by the moral majority, this country would be worse than just simply sexualizing children, if you can conceptualize such a reality.
There is absolutely no evidence to support the statement that we're the greatest country in the world. We're 7th in literacy, 27th in math, 22nd in science, 49th in life expectancy, 178th in infant mortality, 3rd in median household income, number 4 in labor force, and number 4 in exports. We lead the world in only 3 categories: number of incarcerated citizens per capita, number of adults who believe angels are real, and defense spending, where we spend more than the next 26 countries combined, 25 of whom are allies. Now, none of this is the fault of a 20-year-old college student, but you nonetheless are, without a doubt, a member of the worst generation ever. So when you ask what makes us the greatest country in the world, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Sure used to be. We stood up for what was right. We fought for moral reasons. We passed laws, struck down laws for moral reasons. We waged wars on poverty, not poor people. First step in solving any problem is recognizing there is one. America is not the greatest country in the world anymore.
So there you have it. The guy from Dumb and Dumber says we are not a great nation. Now, there's a part of me that agrees with him. We have drifted from the ideas and the principles of our nation, and it has made us less great. A group of leftists, much like the Hollywood elitists that wrote this script, have been telling us for the longest time that America is a patriarchal nation, a neo-colonial nation, and a religiously oppressive nation, and we must do everything that we can to make it as secular as possible. And as a result of that, our nation has become less great. But I think really the reason that we are less great is because we started telling ourselves that we are not great. We started allowing a group of elitists and liberals and leftists to tell us that this nation isn't great or that it wasn't founded upon great principles and just let me mess with things and we'll turn this into a utopia. Well, the more that they have done that, the less great our nation has become. But here's good news. As much as they have tried to destroy this great nation, they have not been able to do it because it is indeed, in fact, a great nation. So when we hear Jeff Daniels tell us that America isn't a great nation because of its infant mortality rate, you can hint a bit of hypocrisy when you feel like you're pretty sure that the people who wrote that monologue, maybe Jeff himself and certainly Aaron Sorkin, they sit back and applaud Planned Parenthood for the work that they do on a regular basis, but yet you're interested in infant mortality? Well, part of me thinks that we can't continue much as a nation if we're not willing to protect the most innocent among us. But I don't think that that's really what you're after, because then he goes on to even tell us that we have high incarceration rates. So let me get this straight. An America with less crime and less criminals on the street is a less great nation. Try to do the algorithm on that one. That doesn't really square. So the point of the matter is just simply this, that we are a great nation, and all of the work that the left has tried to do to destroy this nation, and those who believe that we should become a secular, pagan, humanistic nation, as much as they have tried to destroy this nation, they still can't. It's not for nothing, but America has the highest GDP, and it over-delivers prosperity relative to its wealth, to its citizens. We have the strongest national defense. We are the most technologically powerful and the most naturally rich land on the planet. And from a Christian/humanitarian perspective, America is the most giving country on the planet. And especially evangelical American Christians like myself give more of their time and more of their money to help people all over the world than any other demographic in the world. American prosperity is, in part, responsible for that. America has been the greatest source of missionary expansion in the history of the world. Not only do they send more money in global missions, totaling over $10 billion each year than any other nation, but they also send more missionaries than any other country on the planet. Today, the lowest earning Americans enjoy a level of prosperity that has never been seen before in the history of the world. I'm not saying everyone's life is great. I'm just saying maybe, just maybe, we should kind of think about those things before we automatically jump to the conclusion that America isn't a great nation. Let's just put it this way. If you don't think America is great, subtract America from the world, and what do you get? A world without America is a less free and less prosperous world. America is basically the sole cause for the spread of constitutional republics all over the world. So if you talk about freedom in other nations, you don't get that unless America exists. And the alleviation of global poverty through economic principles like capitalism has certainly made a big impact in global poverty. And most important, the Christian/philosophical ideas present in our founding is perhaps the real greatness of America. Our country was never founded to be a secular nation, and because of that, a group of men believed, they had faith, that God had endowed them with certain rights. You can go all the way back to FDR, not that long ago, when he was saying that Nazis and communists, they hate America because America is Christian, and they hate Christianity because Christianity is democratic. So in other words, FDR was saying, there is no such thing as an America without Christianity. And that belief propelled our founders to stand up and stage conflict with one of the strongest powers in world history. And against all odds, they won. So shooting off fireworks, grilling hamburgers, and eating apple pie is certainly a pale image of what began this country. I get it. But within all of the celebration that you'll do on July 4th is a story about standing against tyranny and winning. That story has been forever etched into the history books, and no amount of belly aching will change that. And all future generations will see that totalitarianism doesn't have to win. That ideal of democracy has changed the world, such that if America didn't exist, you wouldn't right now likely be talking about the freedom of any other country. I can tell you beyond a shadow of a doubt that you wouldn't be talking about the freedom of Canada. And without America, you wouldn't be talking about the freedom of Japan, who without America would have been left in shambles after World War II. Maybe you need a brief history lesson to help you with this. We had every right after Pearl Harbor and after the Japanese had marched into China and absolutely devoured that nation. We had every right to go in and take Japan as our own land. But you know what we did instead? We marched into Japan, helped them create a freer country than before, and then we left and gave that country back to them so that they could rule it themselves. So much for America being an oppressive neo-colonial force in the world. I'm not going to say that we don't have flaws. I'm not going to say that there aren't things about America right now that just truly aren't that great. But the further we get from our founding, the closer we get to hell. But thank God, the story of America isn't whiny leftists. It's not people shaking their fist at God and trying to secure a secular humanistic utopia. No, the story of America is July 4th. It's Christian morality shared by people who don't necessarily believe all of the things of the Bible, but believe that the Bible contains a morality that is good for all. Underneath all the mess of modern America, you'll find a pretty darn good country that's responsible for making our world a better place to live. So, if you like human rights, maybe you like civil rights, maybe you like religious rights, and maybe you like a government by the people and for the people, then celebrate that, and celebrate it well today. Now, go blow stuff up and keep a fire extinguisher very close at hand, and most importantly, go with God. Have a great 4th.